I have 6 bells.
6.
The bells of St. Mary's. Am I on?
Not.
Good evening. It's Thursday, October 23rd, 6 p.m. This is the Plan Commission for the City of Franklin. Ms. Eck, will you please take the roll?
Mayor Nelson?
Here.
Commissioner Specht?
Here.
Commissioner Strago is excused. Commissioner Haley?
Here.
Alderman Salus?
Here.
Alderwoman Day is excused. And Commissioner Leon?
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So good evening and welcome everybody to the Plan Commission. Just came here from next door at the library where they've got the annual trunk or treat. And just so you know, with the children in the little expos, they had over 1,300 children register because you have to pre-register. So that is fantastic. It's a wonderful thing for our city, and the children of our city get to enjoy that. So going into item B as in boy, approval of the minutes, approval of the regular meeting minutes of October 9th, 2025. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion to approve. Second.
First and a second, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Going on to item C as in Charles, public hearing, business matters, Costco rezoning, conditional use, plan development overlay, and site plan. Applications to allow for an approximately 168,000 square foot retail development and accompanying gas station. Rezoning application from B-P Business Park zoning district to B-MU mixed use district. Conditional use application to allow for a fueling station, a plan development overlay PDO to modify development's standards, and a site plan detailing the layout of the proposed development upon property located at 2710 West Drexel Avenue, 1 and 2 Northwestern Mutual Way, tax key number 786-9980-003. Who's taking this? Normally it's written down who does what. Okay. Good evening, Ms. X. You've got the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. So this item is actually 4 applications which are before the Plan Commission this evening. 3 of them are for your recommendation to Common Council, and then the site plan amendment is under your purview. So that is for your approval this evening. So this application is the final set of development approvals for planning for the Costco development on the northwest corner of Drexel and South 27th Street, as you see on the map. The applicants have previously received approval of a certified survey map to create Lot 1, which has not been recorded yet, but will be shortly. And then a comprehensive master plan amendment to change the underlying land use for this lot from office to mixed use to allow for this evening's rezoning. So just to refresh everyone's memory, this is a conceptual site plan that was brought forward with the previous applications. It's a Costco. This is roughly what it'll look like, but we'll go into greater detail shortly. So I just want to touch on, there, as the mayor mentioned and as was noticed, there are 3 public hearing items this evening. The rezoning application from Business Park to the BMU mixed use district. That will become the base zoning of a subsequent overlay, of a plan development overlay. There's also a request for a conditional use application to allow for a fueling station. So the 3 items in red are your public hearing items, and there'll be a chance for public comment on those. And then also a site plan, which is obviously related to the other applications, allowing for the details of the site itself. Your approval will be conditional on the other items receiving approval from the Common Council. So just to remind us, so the development lot 1, this is the only portion of this property that is proposed to be rezoned. I want to be clear that Northwestern Mutual zoning is not changing under this current application. So it's just for the development proposal before you this evening. This is now in alignment with the comprehensive master plan and generally meets the requirements of the ordinance for rezoning. The conditional use is for a fuel station. We have specific standards in the ordinance about fuel stations describing things like the lighting has to be a certain way, et cetera. There needs to be screening. So the conditional use, this application does meet those standards. And we'll kind of get into it. There are 2 requests for waivers of those standards that are then incorporated into the plan development overlay. And those requests we'll touch on in a moment. But let me just see if make sure I'm not missing anything. The application, the conditional use also includes the hours of operation. The applicant is requesting hours of operation broadly from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. With shorter hours on Saturdays and Sundays. So staff has drafted the ordinance to allow for
6 a.m.?
6 a.m. to
Okay.
10 p.m. for the fuel station. Okay. The modification they're requesting is there's a requirement for recessed lighting, and we also typically do not allow signage on fueling station canopies, and those modifications are incorporated into the plan development overlay. So now we get into kind of the substance of the actual applications. There are currently 12 requests for modifications of the base ordinance. So in your packet, you were provided with a table describing these, but it's here for the public as well. So the modifications are a change to the building orientation. So let me go back to this drawing. Typically, we would require that a main entrance face a major street. This is a modification of that request so that they can have their primary entrance facing inwards. Glazing requirements. So typically, we would require glazing on major facades. They're requesting a waiver of this requirement. A waiver of architectural standards like roof modulation and facade articulation. The request for gas canopy signage. So the text of the ordinance now allows for 4 canopy signs, 1 on each side, that must otherwise comply with the development requirements. So we have standards for lighting about how much it can encroach on other properties and to what extent it can, how bright it can be, those kinds of things. So it would comply with those other requirements, but I'm sorry, for signage, it would be that it has to comply with the other requirements of the sign standards. As I mentioned, the fuel pump canopy lighting, they're requesting that it be not recessed. Parking stall count, this modification, so they're requesting, with the update of the Unified Development Ordinance, we adopted parking maximums. So parking is generally calculated now as a ratio of the floor area of a development. They would like to have an excess of what is allowed by the ordinance and an excess of what we can administratively approve. So this request has been incorporated into the PDO as 875 stalls or 35%, whichever is larger.
Marion? It's 6:08 p.m. Alderwoman Day has joined us. Thank you.
The zoning includes a maximum amount of impervious coverage. This is separate, and I expect that we will get questions about this, but this is separate from the review of stormwater requirements. So there are requirements related to the engineering and site design that must be met that are separate from this PDO. Those standards are under review by the planning or the engineering department, and we have a representative from the department here if there's questions about it. But the zoning ordinance also restricts the amount of impervious coverage, structures, paving, et cetera, in terms of the intensity of development on the site. So this is a modification of that standard. Light pole height, they're requesting to have taller light poles so they can have a larger coverage area of each individual light pole. They're requesting a waiver of screening requirements. So the ordinance requires that trash facilities be fenced off and be surrounded by a wall or a fence so that they're not visible to other lots. They're requesting that the screening come in the form of landscaping to the north of there because they need to be able to access it with a vehicle that it's like a big cart, basically. Landscape island size, there are a small number of landscape islands within the parking lot that do not, under the current version, meet the ordinance in terms of their size. So they're a little bit too small. And then cladding and glazing materials. So this other architectural set of alterations, which I've prepared tables for you. They're in the text of the ordinance. The applicant has varying materials in terms of what they're requesting. So the standards align with what we allow in the code, but their materials are kind of, I'm not wording this well. It's the text of the ordinance is meant to allow them to accomplish their project, but align with our standards because the types of the materials fit into different categories. So they named the specific materials. The ordinance talks about the general categories of materials. So the modifications for this are exterior cladding and glazing. So on the left, you have the current standards for the BMU zoning district. So these are requirements that go based on the zoning type. So in this case, mixed use, it's a designation for the 27th Street corridor in general. And we do have some higher requirements for that corridor as a result of past planning work. So their modifications, the major changes here are the changes to glazing, that several facades will have no glazing. A request to not have masonry. And then there's the materials will be primarily concrete paneling and metal paneling, as opposed to what's required under the ordinance. So this is in the text of the PDO overlay. And then for the gas station, there's also a modification. All elevations would have the same standard. So we split this out by which way the elevation is facing the street, an interior side yard, et cetera. All elevations would have the same standard of 35% concrete panel and then metal siding. So now we get into kind of the nitty gritty, the site plan. So I glazed over this a little bit previously, but broadly speaking, this is, it is a Costco, surprise. It's proposed to be a 162,000 square foot building located in the northeast corner of this lot. So this is the corner of Drexel Avenue and South 27th Street. The building's main entrance will be here. We do have requirements about sidewalk connections. They have met that requirement by providing an ADA accessible sidewalk connection to the existing sidewalk on South 27th Street. It's kind of the main entrance to this will occur here off of Drexel onto Northwestern Mutual Way, and then accessing the proposed gas station. This is a future potential expansion that would require a future review, but it's shown here as conceptual. So the primary entrance, there are service doors here. And then a glazed facade here. And then this is kind of the services area where shipping and waste management would happen at this end. There is landscaping that's not depicted on this drawing, but proposed throughout the site, a lot of it occurring fronting the street. And as I mentioned, screening this area, which was of particular concern since it is visible from South 27th Street. What else? Sidewalk, the northern facade, fueling station. So there will not be any entrances on this eastern facade, which is, again, that deviation, having it face southwest. So there are a few items in the site plan that are subject of discussion this evening and conditions of approval on the site plan. One is that the applicant's parking increase, administratively, we could have approved up to 30% without having to bring anything forward as part of the PDO. Since the increase is over and above that, we recommended that the applicant provide the, when we would grant an administrative approval of that, we would require compensation on the site in terms of having green infrastructure, that the additional parking could not be located in front of the building, et cetera, so that if people are choosing to exceed the standard, that they be expected to do so in a way that kind of conforms with the design expectations of the city. The applicant would like to include a waiver of those requirements in their PDO request as well. So we had a chat about that today. But I did draft the site plan ordinance with a recommendation that they provide that compensation. So, and then natural resources, lot one, do I have, lot one has a number of wetland features on it, which have been identified by the DNR as not regulated by them, and they are waiting on a jurisdictional determination by the Army Corps of Engineering. I don't anticipate that it will be jurisdictional, but in the very unlikely case that that occurs, they would have to get a natural resource special exception. That's not something that the PDO is able to absorb as an alteration of standards. But if they are not regulated by the Army Corps, the ordinance currently requires compensation in terms of landscaping, that they provide additional landscaping and features to make up for the loss of habitat. That was part of the natural resource protection standards that were adopted with the new development ordinance. So there's a condition related to that. They do also owe me a plant list for their landscaping plan. So the landscaping quantities comply with the development ordinance, but they have yet to determine, probably because it's not a good time of year to do this, what plants to use in the development. We typically recommend native species. So I do have slides with elevations. So these are what the west elevation would look like. So this is the interior side, is the top one, which would be facing Northwestern Mutual Way.
Want to use a, do you want this at all?
It'll just
Really
confuse
is
me.
wonderful.
Cover an average pointer.
This is a best $10
Yep.
purchase ever.
I mean, you keep trying to persuade me. Maybe one day.
Don't go for it.
It will truly just confuse me. So, okay, so the western elevation, the primary entrance here at the south end of that, with service areas on the north end. The south elevation, this is again the primary entrance, and these are doors for like the tire service center. The applications before you tonight don't approve any of this signage. It is conceptual, but except for the allowance that's in the PDO. But their signage will come forward for permits through an administrative approval later. And then this is the entry elevation. So with the sort of typical large glass panel entry, single entry point. So the next slide has the east elevation. This is what would be facing South 27th Street. So it is on this facade, this is where we would require things like glazing and some different materials typically, and then the north elevation with those service areas. The fuel station, showing the example of what the signage would look like. And the configuration of that. And then these are renderings, which kind of allow us to get an idea of what it will actually look like with Northwestern Mutual in the background. So primary entrance, view from South 27th Street, kind of looking northwest. And then this is actually that service area as seen from the proposed driveway at the north end of the site. So as you can see, they're proposing significant landscape screening in lieu of the required fencing or masonry screening. So planning is recommending approval of these applications, and there are 3 public hearing items before you. So I'm happy to read the notices or answer any questions.
Why don't, before we open up the public hearing, there might be, I know there's probably going to be some questions up here first, and you did a great job explaining how this goes and how this works. Is there a member here from Costco that may be able to answer some questions that would have, you might as well come on up here and bring your stuff, and it'd be great. So if you don't mind, sir, when you get to that microphone, bring it real close. Yeah, bring it to you, and then just state your, yeah, because these are nice, those are not. So just state your name and business address for the record, please, sir.
Yes, good evening. We're very happy to be here tonight. My name is Steve Cross. I'm Costco's Real Estate Development Director. My address is 1955 Raymond Drive in Northbrook, Illinois.
Thank you. Good evening.
With me
and
tonight, sorry, just with me tonight is our civil engineers, Brent Pitcher and Ben Langmeyer from Grafe, so they can answer any engineering questions you might have as well.
Probably. Thank you. So at this point, why don't we save all the questions till the end, and then we'll go into the public hearing at this point, because we're probably going to have some, so if you want to read the notice, that'd be great.
Sure, and I will remind the members of the public, so there are 3 separate public hearing notices here. The first one I'm going to read is just for the question of the rezoning. So the first question before this commission this evening is a recommendation to Common Council about whether or not they believe that this change to the zoning of the site from office to mixed use is appropriate for this corner going forward. So I'll read the public hearing notice, but your comments should be in that context for that item. If you have questions, I'm happy to take them as well. But okay, so a notice of public hearing for the City of Franklin Plan Commission for Thursday, October 23rd, 2025 at 6:00 p.m. in the Common Council Chambers at Franklin City Hall, 9229 West Loomis Road, Franklin 53132. The applicant, Stephen Cross, agent for Costco Wholesale Corporation, and the property is addressed as 2710 West Drexel Avenue and 1 and 2 Northwestern Mutual Way, tax key number 78699800003. The proposal is a rezoning application from business park zoning to BMU mixed use to allow for a retail use. This public hearing is being held pursuant to the requirements of Wisconsin Statute 6223-7D2 and Division 15909C of the Unified Development Ordinance. A map of the affected property and all application materials and the proposed ordinance are available at the Department of City Development at Franklin City Hall. The public is invited to attend the public hearing and to provide input.
Thank you. 6:22 p.m. We'll open the public hearing on this item number 1, which is strictly rezoning. And then what we'll do is if there are any comments on it and there's questions, the questions will be answered as best we can at the end of the hearing. So open at this time. Anybody wish to speak on rezoning only, please come to the podium. Seeing no one, 6:22 p.m., close it on that. Questions now from Plan Commission members? Just the rezoning. Okay. Is there a motion?
Sorry, the tablet just went to sleep on
Did
me.
technology fail us?
Well, I don't know what's going on there. A motion to recommend approval of an ordinance to amend the Unified Development Ordinance to rezone the property, which is a part of 2710 West Drexel, 1 and 2 Northwestern Mutual Way, from Business Park District to BMU Mixed Use South 27th Street District, tax key number 78699800003.
So moved.
Second.
First and a second. These will all be roll call votes, please.
Are you voting?
I don't need to.
Okay.
I'd love to.
Commissioner Specht,
Aye.
Commissioner Shago is excused. Commissioner Haley,
Aye.
Alderman Salus,
Aye.
Alderwoman Day,
Aye.
Commissioner Leon.
Aye.
5 ayes, no noes, 1 absent, motion carries. Sliding into the number 2 portion of this.
A bunch of these. So this public hearing is for the conditional use for the fueling station. So this would be an appropriate time to bring up questions about that part of the development and how it affects the neighborhood. So this is a notice of public hearing for the City of Franklin Plan Commission on Thursday, October 23rd, 2025 at 6:00 p.m. the Common Council Chambers at Franklin City Hall, 9229 West Loomis Road, Franklin, Wisconsin, 53132. The applicant, Stephen Cross, agent for Costco Wholesale Corporation, has brought forward this application located at 2710 West Drexel Avenue, 1 and 2 Northwestern Mutual Way, tax key number 786-9980003. The proposal is an application for conditional use to allow for a fueling station as an accessory use to the proposed retail development on the site. This public hearing is being held pursuant to the requirements of Wisconsin Statute 6223-7D2 and Division 15906E of the UDO for conditional use permits. A map of the affected property and all application materials and the proposed resolution are available at the Department of City Development at Franklin City Hall. The public is invited to attend the public hearing and provide input.
Thank you. It's 6:25 PM. We will open up the public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak on the conditional use and only the conditional use, please come to the microphone. State your name and address for the record, please, and I'll be the timekeeper at 3 minutes. Paul, you may have to go a little bit closer, please.
9209, Paul Ellenbecker, 9209 West Buttes Road. I was wondering, do they plan on having EV charging stations in the area?
And we'll be answering the questions at the end. That's a great question. See no one else? Let's see here. 6:26, the hearing is now closed, and open up to questions. If you don't mind touching on that first question on the EV charging station.
Sure, it'd be a very simple response there. So the intent is not at this time. Our fuel facility operators do look at the members and the percentage of EV vehicles within the certain districts, and we base our decision on EVs based on the number of EV vehicles within the region. And so not at this time. Not to say it couldn't happen in the future, though.
Right. Okay, questions from members of the Plan Commission? Mr. Salus.
Question for engineering. I noticed that there is the presence of artificial wetland on the site, and to the best of my knowledge, it's exempt from the DNR, like, the state basically saying we have nothing to do with that. Now, we, within our ordinance, we ask for some type of compensation or mitigation. So is this like, the city of Franklin asking for it, but the state is not asking for anything? So that is beyond, we are beyond what the state criteria. Because the reason I see that a little bit challenging, if the state ruled out that this artificial wetland did not exist before historically, and it is present now as a result of a human activities, like we open a street, you dig a hole anywhere in the land that become a wetland at a certain point. So I'm just wondering, because I noticed in this item and another item, the same question persists, I'm just wondering how strict are we in terms of enforcing that?
It is a requirement of the development ordinance that those compensations be provided. So it is not uncommon and Franklin has, over the history of this ordinance, required protections for natural resources over and above federal and state agencies for a number of natural resources. And during the design process for the update to the UDO, we received public feedback and recommendations about protecting these kinds of natural resources. So this is intended to compensate for habitat loss. So it is currently part of the code.
And if the site doesn't allow, if the site doesn't have the ability or the capacity to compensate on site, then you still have to do it off site?
That is something that, yes. So we do have allowances for how the types of compensation, so it doesn't have to be like for like. That was something that we heard from developers was really difficult to do for all natural resources. So in this case, it would be additional landscaping and those kinds of things are what we would typically require. Yeah. Yep. So.
Okay, thank you. I yield.
Anyone else on this at this point, on the conditional use? Seeing nothing, I would,
And
Alderwoman Day.
just quickly, as I'm trying to get all of these in the right order, I believe you said, Marion, during your presentation that you had written in to this ordinance that they would be required to do that compensation, correct?
The compensation is currently a condition of the site plan.
Yes, okay.
So we'll discuss that a little more when we get to site plan time.
But not in the current conditional use for this fueling
No.
station. Correct. Okay, thank you.
Okay, excellent. Is there a motion on this one?
Maybe. Motion to recommend approval of a resolution imposing conditions and restrictions for the approval of a conditional use for Costco Wholesale Corporation for a vehicle fuel sales facility located in the northwest corner of South 27th Street and West Drexel Avenue, a part of 2710 West Drexel Avenue, 1 and 2 Northwestern Mutual Way, tax key number 78699800003.
So moved.
I second.
First and a second, roll call, please.
Mayor's not voting. Commissioner Specht?
Aye.
Commissioner Schrago is excused. Commissioner Haley?
Aye.
Alderman Salus?
Aye.
Alderwoman Day?
Aye.
Commissioner Leon?
Aye.
5 ayes, no noes, 1 absent, motion carries. Number 3, we're going to plan development overlay. A lot of moving parts, isn't there, Marion?
Yeah.
You're doing great.
So,
My pointer.
She doesn't need it.
I don't need it. I'm doing fine.
It's fine.
So this segment of this evening's item is regarding the proposed plan development overlay. So these are the waivers of standards from the current development ordinance. So this is a notice of public hearing for the City of Franklin Plan Commission on Thursday, October 23rd at 2025 at 6:00 p.m. in the Common Council Chambers at Franklin City Hall, 9229 West Loomis Road, Franklin, Wisconsin, 53132. The applicant is Stephen Cross, agent for Costco Wholesale Corporation, and the property is 2710 West Drexel Avenue, 1 and 2 Northwestern Mutual Way, tax key number 78699800003. The proposal is a plan development overlay of the BMU mixed-use zoning district to allow for modifications of standards including building orientation, glazing and facade features, impervious coverage, lighting, signage, and parking quantity. This This public hearing is being held pursuant to the requirements of Wisconsin Statute 62237D2 and Division 1510-6F of the Unified Development Ordinance. A map of the affected property and all application materials and the proposed ordinance are available at the Department of City Development at Franklin City Hall. The public is invited to attend the public hearing and to provide input.
Thank you. It's 6:33 p.m. We will now open the public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak on the conditional use, the plan development overlay, only the plan development overlay, please come to the podium, state your name and address. Of course you can. What, come to the,
I'm not sure if my question is in regarding
well, how about this? We're going to do this.
Okay,
Bring this down a little bit
okay,
and just state your name and address for the record and ask whatever you wish.
okay, thank you. My name is Pat Reedy, 3257 West Villa Drive. Okay, so we're right, not too far from, and a number of my neighbors are here, from the Villas of Franklin condos. And the concerns were, has anyone done a traffic impact study? And if so, what the results are? Because some of the concern we have is that while it's being built, number one, but even after it's finished, that a lot of people coming from 35th that normally go to Drexel now and then go down to 27th, they're going to say, oh, I'm not going to get all that traffic mess. I'm going to go down Villa Drive. And we're going to just see speeding and like we did quite a few years ago, been taken care of. That was question number one, was regarding traffic in the area and how it might ultimately impact.
And we'll answer those after we
Yes.
close it, but we'll answer it.
Okay.
That's an
The
easy
other,
one.
the other question, oh, can I go? Okay. The other, the other question, if we can go back to the picture of the entrances and the kind of, yeah, like where, sorry if
The
you have,
site,
there,
yeah.
okay. So see where it says new on the very top, new Full Costco access. So there is going to be an access off of 27th Street? Okay. And then that comes around. Okay. And then the other access is down off of Northwestern Mutual Way, I believe it's called.
Steady.
And there's a stoplight there?
Yeah.
That what's going to be planned? Okay. And so really there's South 31st Street itself will not really be impacted by any traffic relative to the entering of the Costco grounds, question mark. Number
right
one.
here.
It's going to stay mostly on Drexel there, right? And maybe possibly that one entrance up at the top
On the
on
north end,
27th
yeah.
Street. Okay. So do you feel, knowing how, or what is the plan, knowing how Drexel Avenue is right now, in that area where you're going to be making an entrance to this going to be very popular place, that it will be able to handle that type of traffic and not just be backed up all over the place, coming both directions? So traffic is a big question, I guess, for impacting this area, because it is limited. It's not a 27th Street. Drexel's not a 27th Street. So I think, and then the gas station entrance you have to get at off of Northwestern Way, right? There's no entrance directly from Drexel. Okay. Okay. Well, I think those are all the questions. Okay, pardon?
No
Well,
helping.
yeah, the other question is what the impact is on 35th Street, because, you know, it's all right there. I really do, in all sincerity, feel that Villa Drive and our condo association will be heavily impacted, because I do believe people will take that just to avoid the traffic on Drexel. They definitely will take 35th down to 27th on Villa Drive. Okay? That was
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak, or anybody wishing to help speak? Nothing? Good evening, sir. Welcome.
Hello, my name's Ryan Butke, 7783 South 31st Street. So just across the street from the west from the Costco building. My question is regarding the lighting height. Looking that you wanted to raise it from the, I believe, standard of 20 feet up to 36 feet. I'm assuming these are for light pollution reasons that we have this current height. My question is, why do we need to raise it that far, especially as it will impact the surrounding location at night?
Thank you. Well, no, we'll be answering these as we go. These are good questions, but we have answers. See no one else. It is 6:38. Close the public hearing, and now open up to some questions. I know I have a few. I'll speak last. So Alderwoman Day, then Mr. Leone.
Thank you. Someone stole my question about the lighting, so I did just want to get a little bit more clarification on the height difference and making sure that we're not putting any undue light pollution out into the neighboring, and if that was for specifically the parking lot, if that was, the whole parking lot, just parts of the parking lot, kind of what your plan is for that. And then my other question goes back to the impervious coverage. And so the normal standard is 70. I see that you asked for 85, but then I'm looking at the memo from Grafe that's dated October 13th, and it's saying on here that the site plan indicates a little over 72% coverage. Is there a reason that you want the max up to 85? Is that just for the future, the potential future expansion of the gas station, or what is the purpose for needing 85% as the max, as opposed to maybe like 75% to be, closer to what is on the site plan? My assumption was for the potential for the gas station, but I wasn't sure what the need was for the 85. Those are my two questions on this one.
I will briefly touch on the pole height question. The lighting plan otherwise complies with the Unified Development Ordinance. So in terms of allowing light to cross a property boundary, it does comply. They may have operational reasons for that. In terms of if there's like a dark sky standard in our ordinance, we don't have very strict shielding requirements. It's more about property lines, so.
Yeah, I saw the foot candle notes in there, so.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I can add some context to that as well if you want. So yeah, the 36.5 foot high, I mean, that is what we typically use around the country. And what it does is also reduces the number of light poles. Because we've done multiple studies with different communities and lowering light poles. And obviously the lower you make them, the more poles you have. So you end up with a lot of bright spots around the parking lot, which visually, I think those actually look worse than having the less lights up higher, and you get a better uniformity and spread throughout the parking lot there. So that's what we found is kind of the optimum height to have for those poles there. And then we're also complying, as Marion said, with any light spillage. There's no spillage there except internally onto the driveway there, so that we light the Northwest Mutual Way there.
And I did also see some notes scattered throughout here that it's also more environmentally friendly because you have less structures as well, so.
Yeah, and then these are LEDs.
Is-
Yeah, so these are LED lights, obviously low electricity usage, and they're all recessed. All the LED fixtures are recessed up into the light. So if you're looking from a distance, you're not going to see that bulb that in the old style lights that kind of projected below the fixture itself. So everything's kind of recessed up inside the light there. And then just to respond to your comment about the impervious, so you're right that we aren't meeting that 85, but we do have the expansion of the gas area. And just, going forward, I mean, 85 is a fairly typical number for what we find for the municipalities that we go to. And that would allow us to make other adjustments in the future related to that.
So please come here, sir.
Oh.
We'll get, Luke will share his.
One note of addition to that.
Anyone, just state your name and business address and bring real close.
Brent Pitcher with Grave, 275 West Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Specific to the impervious question, stormwater ponds are considered impervious, and that's the difference between parking, building, fuel. Stormwater ponds weren't included in that number, but they are included in that 85% request.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Are you yielding then?
Yes. those are
Mr.
my
Leon
questions
and
on
Alderman
that one.
Salus.
Thank you, Mayor. Like Alderwoman Day, one of the questions that I wanted to ask was addressed by Ms. Reed about the traffic. Having somebody who goes to Costco quite a bit out in New Berlin, somehow, and this looks very similar in design to New Berlin, as crowded as Costco can be, and I'm there a lot on Saturdays when it's really crowded, coming from Grange or Moreland, I don't think I have ever had to get queued up there. So I don't know what Costco's magic, and I've done that at other places. It seems to flow very well. Once you get into your parking lot, it changes a little bit as people are coming and going. So if you could just talk a little bit about the location and why this layout makes sense to address Ms. Reed's questions about the traffic that's going to impact the condos to the north, south. Thank you, south. And then, as I was looking at the layout, it looks similar to other locations I've been, but is there any consideration for additional parking to the north at some point? And the only reason I ask, and this is just purely anecdotal, is other locations I've seen, there is some parking in that service area. And the example I would give is New Berlin, where I believe it's to the west at that location. But I mean, I'm sure you know what you need for parking, and I imagine this is the plan, but would there be any potential changes to have parking north of the building?
So I can answer the parking question, and I'll turn it over to Brent for the TI, the traffic study question there. So the amount of parking that we have in this facility here that we're proposing is 868. So it's significantly more than what we've been doing up to now. Most of the, if you went back 5, 6 years or so, 10 years, you're in the 650 to 700 and a quarter, 725 spaces. So as the building has increased over time from like 150,000 to 155 to 160, we've obviously also increased the parking. So we're typically looking for anywhere from 850 to 900, 925, something like that. So, and we do also look at each region and evaluate it based on the region, whether we think that the parking is sufficient for that area. So definitely in this one, we feel comfortable with the parking. So we are trying to future-proof ourselves so we're not running out of parking. But at this point, to answer your question about the parking to the north, we haven't, we're buying the land that's shown there as Lot 1. That's our intent. That fits the 868 parking spaces. So we don't have any plans for future parking to the north at this
Thank
point.
you. Just a follow-up question then. So the parking here, 868 stalls, that exceeds what you had for parking 5 to 10 years ago, which I think is approximately when the New Berlin Costco was built. So
2015.
2050. So that's less parking there than it is here. So there shouldn't be a need to.
Correct. yeah.
Okay. Thank you. And then the traffic piece.
Yes. So our traffic group at Grafe has worked very closely with WISDOT on this, as well as city staff. So we did a full traffic impact analysis that was reviewed by first WISDOT and then city's consultant for traffic, as well as Milwaukee County. So I think the key for this site and all of the traffic is that 75% of the projected users are coming on Drexel from the east and returning to the east. So whether that's from the north on the interstate, from the south on the interstate, or Drexel to the east of the interstate, that combines to 75% of the traffic. Only 10% is projected to come along from the west on Drexel and return west. And as you pointed out, there's a New Berlin Costco that's fairly close. So when they looked at members now and projections for new members, the real estate group has indicated that there's a crossover point where people are going to continue to go to New Berlin versus coming to Franklin. So that's 10%. We're anticipating only 4% coming down on 27th Street from north of Rawson, so a very small amount. And then key to the cut-throughs, only 3% coming from the west, eastbound on Rawson, that would even put them in the neighborhood of that 31st and Rawson signal, which was included in the analysis. So really the key to traffic movements in and out of the site is at 27th and then specifically at Drexel and NM Way. So as also a Costco user and somebody that is always looking to save a little time, I wouldn't anticipate that there's going to be really any advantage for time savings to use 31st Street as a cut through, certainly not going through NM Way or the parking lot or impacting neighbors to the south or the west.
We can't do that, but you could hint it. Because I don't want to break, because what I'll do is the city attorney will quietly yell at me that I'm not following the procedures, and I don't want to violate that because it sets a bad precedent. But well, we're going to get to everything that, all the questions, including the young man on 31st Street, we're going to touch on to make sure that there's no, these are simple answers. So, it's been thought about, but we want to make sure that we're not ever inconveniencing any of the neighbors. They're excellent to deal with, especially the light pollution. We dealt with it at the Rock. It's not going past the lot lines. There's all sorts of things that we're up on. So, were you satisfied with that so far?
Yeah, thank you. I also heard that you called me a 10%er in there because I'll be driving west to east on Drexel Avenue, but I promise I don't need to go to 35th Street and we can shoot down. But yeah, I promise I have no need to go down Village Drive, but I think the gentleman from Grafe laid out pretty clearly the traffic piece of it and how the flow of it, why it's a good location to not disrupt you. So thank you, sir. And I yield.
Alderman Salus.
Being a national company, I'm very sure you have your standards of design, your image of the stores you guys have. How often do you guys deviate from these standards? Because I noticed there is like almost like a dozen deviations from our ordinance here. Is it like, does it happen that often that, there is a deviation to accommodate, certain municipalities, or it is like an image you like to present as part of your business plan?
So it's a great question. So there are certain things in the ordinance that it's impossible basically to implement. And Marion brought that one up about the glazing. That's actually like the second item on the list there. Obviously, for a Costco warehouse, having glazing windows basically looking into the building there, that's not conducive for our type of business. We're not a small retail building, people walking by it. So from a security, safety standpoint, we don't have glazing other than the roll-up doors for the tire center. So that's a fairly easy one to answer if there is a glazing requirement like you guys have, like the city has. The other thing at the top there, the building orientation, talks about facing the street, facing the public roadway. And in this particular location, because you can see from the configuration of the lot, it's very difficult to do that. If we had a more rectangular parcel, we could push the building back and have the parking in front, which would meet that requirement. So in this instance, site-specific, that one doesn't work. And then some of the other deviations that we're looking at are related to the size of the building. What I want to say is we've worked really hard with staff. They've really pushed us on the elevations, and what we have here is quite an upgraded building, which I think is warranted, and I think it looks great. Our standard base building is basically a metal building. It's all rib metal, and what we've done here with working with staff, we came in with what we thought was a good plan. We had a lot of masonry, concrete masonry units, architectural metal panels, which are actually increased R values. They're the higher level metal panels. And then what we do is we look at the building, and instead of doing the articulation, which a lot of communities think that if you have a 500-foot long building, the best way to break up the building is to have a lot of steps in and out to break up that one wall. But again, with this type of building, a big warehouse, you can't have the inside of the building step in and out when you're trying to line product on the walls there. So there's a bunch of reasons why. And then what we do is we come in and we say, well, let's just take a step back from what the ordinance requires. Let's just look at the building as a whole and see what really works with the building, given that it's the size it is. I mean, we can't hide the fact that it is, 162,000 square feet. So we break it up with the different materials, this upgraded architectural panels. We have the masonry going up 8 feet in certain areas. We have masonry around the entryway, which I think Marion had that entry elevation, which I think looks fabulous. So we like to work with the cities and come up with a unique building for specific communities. And sometimes it does require deviations within the code.
Thank you. Satisfactory answer. Yield.
Okay, I like to speak last, so we'll go. So now, in the short answer, and I respect engineers, and I respect attorneys that talk, but if I live on 31st Street, am I confident that you're not going to have a light pollution problem exceeding the property lines that are going to have a problem? Because I know the New Berlin Costco, because I enter from Grange, and it's pitch black because I go to the gas station, and so there's not, so whatever, I know you must have some shading on the one side, because when you enter, it's pretty much kind of a darkened area, because I go at night, and then once you hit the lot, it's lit up. So do you have shades, or do you have some sort of screening that you put on those lights? Please answer. I think I know the answer, but I'd like to share with everybody.
Yeah, so the lights, I mean, you may look at a light and you may think that light, everyone is the same, but they're not. They actually have different light patterns. So you can have lights that if you just want to have one light and you want to uniformly light around it, the light will spread to the back, to the side, and to the front. But you can also have lights that just throw lights forward. so that there's very little light that goes behind the pole. So we strategically designed the light fixtures and which type of fixtures. I believe there's like 5 or 7 different type of light patterns that you can use. So we strategically have our guys look at it to figure out the way that we can minimize or meet the code for no light spillage off the property lines. So to the south, we're pretty confident with that because we also have the fuel facility to the south. And I know Marion mentioned, the recessed lighting in the canopy that we were looking, we weren't going to have recessed lighting, but we actually do have recessed lighting that lights under the canopy. So all of the lights in the canopy are up inside the canopy, pointing straight down. The only lights that aren't recessed are going to be the ones that light the sign. And those are basically out on a cantilever, pole sticking out, and then they shine back to the light, to the signage there, the Costco signage. So we feel pretty confident in the analysis that we've done, and that was provided to staff that shows that there's the, meeting the code at the property lines there.
Thank you. Any further discussion right now? See none, motion, Mary?
Just a reminder that there is an additional request by the applicant for an additional PDO standard related to the parking increase and compensation for that. So if that's something that you would like to propose adding to the resolution as a new condition or as a new piece of the proposed development ordinance, that's an option at this time. Otherwise, you'll be adopting an ordinance that doesn't allow for that.
I would say yes. I mean, how do you feel about that?
Well, just as we answered the question on parking, yes, we would like that. I mean, we're slightly above it in terms of what is allowable. So I strongly believe that we would like to.
Well, I think it makes sense.
Absolutely.
I mean, to Commissioner Leone's point, we look at the smaller amount of parking spaces at the other store, which people are like, well, what about parking? Well, now you've addressed that. I think it makes the most sense to add that tonight to the motion.
Okay.
So whatever your motion you want to present, just
Yeah, hang on.
work your magic. We can all talk amongst ourselves.
Convince a bit.
Exactly. So I believe that probably be, Mr. Counsel, the proposed motion as stated with the addition of the added parking spots up to 868?
So the additional modification of, a modification of UDO 15501B2 to allow for the parking increase without permeable paving or other compensation.
So if you read the whole motion, you're going to add that to it, or is it?
Yes. Hang on.
Makes sense.
Okay. A motion to recommend approval of an ordinance to create plan development overlay number 45, Costco Wholesale Corporation, which is a part of 2710 West Drexel Avenue, 1 and 2 Northwestern Mutual Way, tax key number 78699800003, with the additional modification number 13 of the requirement for compensation of parking increases, 15-501B2
Make sure it is waived, that last part.
is waived.
So moved.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Seeing no further discussion, roll call vote, please.
Hang on, I gotta get back to that page.
See how easy you got it, Luke? Just chill.
He's not pulling his weight.
Present.
Right?
It's because I wrote notes on it. Okay. So Alderwoman Day was the second. Who was the first?
Commissioner Leon.
Leon. Mayor is not voting. Commissioner Specht.
Aye.
Commissioner Shago is excused. Commissioner Haley.
Aye.
Alderman Salus.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Commissioner Leon.
Aye.
5 ayes, no noes, 1 absent, motion carries. Now we're moving forward for the last part, correct? Yep, site plan.
Oh, that's right.
Okay. So is there discussion on the site plan? This application or this resolution has the conditions related to parking, which you just voted to recommend a waiver of those requirements, and then also the issue of natural resources, which the PDO is not able to waive those requirements. So pending the jurisdictional determination by the Army Corps, then the way that the ordinance or the resolution is drafted, they would be required to provide compensation. So this also needs to include a finding, though, by you that the wetlands on site meet the requirements of the UDO to, provided that these wetlands are determined to be non-federal. So that would create the allowance for an administrative review of compensation.
Comments on that? At this point, I mean, what are your thoughts at this point? I mean, I'm hoping there's no surprises that we're going over tonight. I mean, I think.
No, everything that Marion's brought up is what we're looking for here. Yeah.
Okay, counsel, can you hit this button?
Just with regard to the draft site plan resolution, the title states it's a site plan amendment.
That's correct. It's amending the site plan for Northwestern Mutual.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I didn't find that in the packet.
Oh,
Thank you.
Okay, Marion, do you want to, the announcement? Oh, hold on, Mr. Haley?
Question, comment? Just so that we're all clear, if the determinations are federal wetlands, then they need to come back to us with a natural resource special exception to deal with that. So if the feds say they're not ours, then we're done with this. Otherwise, they're coming back for that.
That's a great point.
Yes.
Very good, just for clarity. The other point, it was mentioned briefly that the landscape plan is missing a plant list. We need one of those. Staff will have to review it. I would like the motion to approve this to include that those be done all in native plants. The existing vegetation out there is all native prairie. It was one of the original requirements. It's actually in very nice shape. And the hope would be that you're going to be removing a bunch of it, but that you would continue in that realm. I guess with that, I would make the motion if you've got one for us.
okay. With your inclusion. Let's
Thank you.
Yep. So a motion to approve a resolution approving a site plan for the development of a retail store with parking lot, fueling station, and related features upon property located on the northwest corner of South 27th Street and West Drexel Avenue, a part of 2710 West Drexel Avenue, 1 and 2 Northwestern Mutual Way, tax key number 78699800003, with the condition that the future landscape plantings consist of all native prairie plants, and that the Plan Commission finds that the wetlands on site meet the requirements of the UDO, provided they are determined to be non-federal.
Haley?
Just clarification. They don't all need to be prairie plants. They need to be natives. There's a lot of trees that they'll be putting in. And as long as they stick with native trees. So all plant species to be native to the area. Thank you.
So that's the motion. You're
made it.
making that motion. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Alderwoman Day, second. Further discussion before we do a roll call vote. Are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. Good enough for me. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Specht?
Aye.
Commissioner Shago is excused. Commissioner Haley?
Aye.
Alderman Sluse?
Aye.
Alderwoman Day?
Aye.
Commissioner Leon?
Aye.
5 ayes, no noes, 1 absent, motion carries. Good.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much. We're excited to get to the next step.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So are we. Very excited. Going into letter D as in David, citizen comment period. Citizens may comment upon the business matter items set forth on this meeting agenda, which would be E1, Communities of Crocus site plan, and E2, Aldi site plan. So at this time, anybody wishing to come up to the podium and speak on those two items and those two items only, please come up, state your name and address for the record. I will be the timekeeper, and the citizen comment period is open on those two items only. Marion, do you have any cards on you, Luke or Marion? Business cards?
I don't.
Ladies, she's gonna give you a business card. They'll be more than happy to answer any of your questions. Okay, that'll help you out. It's your last one. We gotta wait till November 1st to get new ones. All right, citizen comment period's open. Seeing no one, what's that? Well, if you want, or the gentleman from Grafe wants to give her a business card, however it is, we want to make sure the citizens' questions are answered. Right, counsel? Of course, good answer. All right. Anybody want to come to the podium and speak on items E1 and 2? Ma'am, good evening, welcome. Did she get her cards? So we can, there you go. Thank you. All right, ma'am, good evening and welcome. You're good to go.
All right, my name is Colleen Brown, N9 W27808 Woodridge Lane in Waukesha, Wisconsin. I wanted to speak on behalf of Crocus, the communities of Crocus. I'm actually a plant commissioner for the city of Pewaukee, so I'm used to being on that side, not this side.
Welcome.
But
Kind of a big deal.
yeah. I have a 26-year-old special needs daughter, and she would be a potential resident for the communities of Crocus. If any of you have special needs, young adults like I do, you can figure out that there's not a whole lot of spaces for kids that have 24/7 care. My daughter is one of them. She is currently at Southern Wisconsin Center, so in institutional care at the moment, getting supportive health and medication. And something like this is something that I cannot find for her coming out of a wonderful institution like Southern Wisconsin Center. So I'm encouraging Plan Commission and eventually the council to agree to let Crocus become part of your community. I think you are starting something amazing. I think you are starting something that is not available in southeastern Wisconsin. And I think it will help other communities feel comfortable putting aside land for special needs kids. Sorry, I always call her a kid, but she's actually an adult. To give them a community that accepts them, appreciates them, and also helps the Franklin School District eventually with an 18 to 21 program. This is a great development, and I really hope that you guys see it that way. So, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else wishing to speak on this? Items E1 or E2? Seeing no one, we will close citizen comment period. Moving on to E1. Who is taking E1 tonight? Marion, you're on a roll. I'll read it. Communities of Crocus, Inc. site plan request for approval of a site plan for Phase 1 of the Communities of Crocus development, including 4 care homes, the Center for Training, Educational, Recreational, and Therapeutics Activities for Communities of Crocus residents, and a supportive hub to provide caregiver support and resources for residents and their families upon property located at 0 South 31st Street, tax key number 761-9992-002. Ms. X.
Thank you, Mayor. So this item is a request for a site plan for the communities of Crocus, which has been before this commission and also the Common Council previously, for an approval of we used to call a special use to allow for the density of the site and the mixture of uses on the lot. And also for other approvals related to the 3 lots to the south of it, a rezoning to allow for those future phases to proceed along with this development. So the application before you this evening is the site plan, which does comply with the requirements of that previously approved conditional use. It includes the development of residential buildings, a community building, and also a care center. So just to remind everyone of which parcels we're talking about and the phasing, Lot A is where the development is being proposed and what you're reviewing this evening. Lots B and C are not part of this evening's discussion. These are future phases for what we anticipate will be residential facilities, apartments, townhomes, housing for the community of this community. So the site plan before you this evening is on Lot A, which is currently vacant. However, it does have what are constructed wetlands. This was a project to help manage water in the area with the cooperation of the Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewerage District. There are constructed wetlands that are under a 10-year easement. The proposed development doesn't impact them in any way, but it's important to know that they're there. And there are significant natural resources on this site. So I know that was a point of discussion, just how water moves on the property and how the development could potentially impact what is an environmental corridor here, a wetland complex, et cetera. So as I mentioned, there's the existing special use. The applicants previously obtained approvals of their comp plan amendment, rezoning, and special use for the overall development. But this evening is the site plan. The proposal is for four unit residential developments for a total of 16 units, which is well within the allowable density of the site. Let's see if this is a more detailed look at this. So the four homes, and then the center, which is a 19,500 square foot building with a partial basement. This will be kind of a rec center for the residents of this community, and we'll have recreational and educational facilities. And then the supportive hub, which is intended as an office building and community space. So you're not evaluating the use, you're evaluating the site, but the uses sort of dictate the site configuration. So I did want to touch on this. So the sizes of the buildings warrant the review by Plan Commission this evening, but generally speaking, these developments meet or exceed the architectural standards for the BMU zoning district in terms of articulation, glazing, et cetera. They're designed to be people's homes and community, so they reflect a residential style for the residences with this kind of prairie look. And then the care center. So this is the elevation that would be not visible from the street because it will be behind another building. But this is the east elevation, north elevation. So this is what would be facing west back towards that wetland complex, and then south to the rest of the development. And then the hub, so this would kind of be the most prominent feature of the site facing South 31st Street, so across from the Statesman, and the primary entrance for this development. Again, it meets all of the architectural requirements for the site. So just a couple of other site details to touch on. So again, they meet all of the requirements of the Unified Development Ordinance in terms of impervious coverage, in terms of landscaping requirements, et cetera, with a few minor details that need to be fleshed out for their lighting plan. And also some of the drawings on the site plan show, so there is a proposed fence that is going to encircle what is the backyard of the residences and connect it to the center. So there'll be a fence around this so that folks can safely go outside, and they have this kind of backyard area with some play features and like landscaping and natural areas for play. And then there is a buffer area here. So this is currently wooded, and there is a wetland on the lot here that is a naturally occurring, not a constructed wetland. So this is part of their landscape buffer from the different density of zoning to the north. Um, there is a condition on the resolution before you this evening that the fence may not be closer to the street than any building. Just because of that, some drawings differ. So that needs to be corrected and can be corrected administratively. They are required to submit their buffer yards. The lighting plan will have to be a future review, so the general information that's been provided meets the code in terms of shielding requirements and design, but they did not have a complete lighting plan with actual foot candles ready for this evening, so that's something that we recommend including subject to staff review in the future. And then there is also, so as you know, we recently adopted the new Unified Development Ordinance, and similar to the previous item, there are natural resources on site. The applicants are proposing impacts to wetland buffers. Under the previous ordinance, this would have required a natural resource special exception. However, under the new ordinance, so long as their compensation plan meets the requirements of this ordinance, this is something that can be approved by the site plan process, subject to plan commission review. So they had previously been proposing wetland impacts directly impacting the existing wetlands. So here on the north end of the property and here on the south end of this parcel, this is the wetland boundary on the south end. So they have since altered their plans to not impact those wetlands and to provide compensation. However, they had submitted an NRSE with this information, and I had started my review of it and realized that there was this discrepancy between what the previous expectation was set. So basically, they don't need the NRSE. However, I have not reviewed their compensation plan this evening, so you have the option to either table this so I can come back with that review or allow me to administratively approve it. So that it's up to you how you would like to word that on your resolution.
I have an idea.
But otherwise, staff is recommending approval subject to the conditions in the resolution, that the lighting plan be reviewed later as a minor site plan amendment, that any natural resource impacts are reviewed pursuant to the standards of the ordinance, and then that the fence can't be closer to the street. So I'm happy to answer questions. The applicants and their whole crew are here.
So thank you. You did a great job. Okay. So I do recognize the friends from Communities of Crocus. If there's one person, I mean, or two, we got two chairs, and then if you'd like to come and join us, I think I have an idea on how to move this forward, but I want to make sure that we've got the buy-in from you and commitments and such. So if you don't mind, just for the record, state your name and business address, and then we'll go from there and speak real close to it.
Good evening, Kevin Alabach. I am with HGA Architects, 333 East Erie Street in Milwaukee.
Good evening. My name is Brad McDermott. I am also with HGA. I am the civil engineer for the project.
Thank you. Good evening, gentlemen, and welcome. So you heard the presentation from Marion in planning. Why don't we talk about that, what you just said about, do you have any issues or concerns that everything that was discussed tonight? I mean, do you contest anything about that, or do you argue anything about that, or what are your thoughts? I know I'm just doing this for everyone, so we kind of talk openly about it.
No contest.
Yeah.
Okay, so that made it simple. Anybody up here for now until I go into something? Mr. Leone?
Thank you, Mayor. I would recommend the latter, that the review be done administratively by the planning department. No other questions or comments on this matter.
So why don't we just read the motion with that you do the administrative review internally?
Okay. Motion to approve a resolution approving a site plan for the development of a 16-unit supportive housing development, resident community center, and community hub facility upon property located at 0 South 31st Street, tax key number 76199920002, with the additional condition that staff may administratively approve natural resource impacts. So, and lighting.
And lighting.
And lighting.
So moved.
Second.
We've got a first and a second. Good catch. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries.
Thank you.
Three wonderful things on tonight's. E is member number 2, Aldi site plan, request for approval of a site plan for a new Aldi grocery store upon property located at 10001 West Church Street. Tax key number 7959999 007. I've been waiting to say that all night. 007.
Good evening. I finally get to speak.
Good evening.
This is a proposal on the existing Speedway development on the corner of Lovers Lane and Church Street. Just east of Church Street is Drexel. So they are looking to develop on the south side of the site. They have an approved CSM back in June. They are still going through the recording process of that. That should be recorded fairly soon here. This is the existing conditions of the site. As you can see, here's the existing speedway with this existing drive out to Lovers Lane. During pre-development meetings with the developer and Wisconsin DOT, as part of their improvements to Highway 100 South Lovers Lane, they were requesting that that access be removed and replaced with a new access that is across the street from the existing light with Target on Lovers Lane, if you know it. It's kind of here on the south side. So this is that new access that they are proposing, and then they are proposing cross access to the Speedway instead. The building is about 20,000 square feet, a little bit over that. So it comes under your jurisdiction for approval. This was reviewed in respect to the CSM. As you can see, they're on lot 2 there on the south side. Let's see here.
Could you touch on that again? What's going to be closed? And
You
want to use or
Yeah.
go crazy and use my pointer?
Yeah, so this access right here is existing. When the DOT eventually comes south to make their improvements down there, as they have been the last couple of years, they were asking that access be removed entirely. So this access,
DOT's doing that with their plan. Okay. Now
yeah,
I follow.
yeah. So they're asking that this be removed because there's no light access and it's close to a light. So instead, they want Aldi to use this access easement that's existing on the residential area here to provide access so that this is directly across the street from the Target light that's there.
Right.
So that is their proposal. It's under DOT's request that it look like that. So that is what they are requesting. We, like Marion and the Costco project, we have maximum parking now. Right now, the max yield based on the building square footage would allow for 82 spaces, and they are requesting 95. However, this one falls under that 30% maximum increase allowed as long as they follow the additional spaces are provided with like 1/2 inch runoff and bioretention, which they have provided here on this southwest side of the site. And so staff has no issues with the maximum parking increase to 95. That is what and it falls under that certain percentage. Let's see here. As far as landscaping, so because they abut residential districts to the west and the south, they were required to provide buffer yards on those sites. So as you can see, most of their landscaping is along this west side here and along the south side of the site so as to block any sort of light pollution or things like that from that south residential development. They also provided, let's see, much more than what was required of the minimum planting standards. One thing that was found during this is the lighting plan. They as you can see here, that they are only proposing really excess near the accesses due to, stoplights, things like that. We are allowed to we are allowed to approve excesses to the lighting standards as long as the lighting meets street lighting landscapes required by the city. Planning has no issues with those requests. All the other sides are mostly at the 0, which is what's required under the new UDO. As for natural resources, so there are 2 wetlands on site. It was determined by the DNR and the Army Corps of Engineers that these are non-federal. So like how Costco was, they are still required to have compensation, but the compensation can look different. It's not one-to-one. So, however, during a miscommunication between me and the applicant, they didn't provide enough compensation. So it's 1.5 to 1 for the non-federal wetland, and then 1 to 1 for the buffer. So they've provided enough for the wetland itself, but not enough for the buffer. So like Crocus, I'm asking that it's up to you whether you would want to review the new natural resource plan to make sure that they're complying with the standard, or I can review. I can administratively review it because it's not required. NRSE is not required as part of this. And then lastly, I got it. Lastly, these are their architectural plans. Planning has no general issues. However, they did not meet the architectural standards for the street side yards. They used the interior side yards for the glazing materials. So that's the east elevation that faces Lover's Lane, and especially the west elevation that meets Scepter Drive, do not meet the standards for what we would require in the UDO. So again, we're recommending that they submit a final architectural standards building elevations that I can administratively review that complies with the standards of the code. Ultimately, we are recommending approval subject to those conditions in the draft resolution.
Is there a member of the Aldi build team here that could? The guy wearing Aldi. I didn't see the Aldi thing. Good evening. If you gentlemen would like to sit down and state your name and business address for the record, please.
Good evening, folks. Tom Howell, Director of Real Estate for Aldi, 9342 South 13th Street, Oak Creek, Wisconsin, 53154. Want to just say thanks in the beginning here to staff. We've been working on this quite some time with the developer and excited to be here tonight.
Mark Seidel, Pinnacle Engineering Group, 20725 Watertown Road, Brookfield, Wisconsin.
Well, good evening and welcome, and we're very excited. So to start this off, so the things that you heard tonight, are there any questions or are you disputing anything that you heard tonight?
No, sir.
Okay. So with that, I'll open it up. Any further questions, Mr. Leone?
Thank you, Mayor. Like with the previous item, recommend staff review natural resources, architectural, and do we need to put lighting on there, or is that not relevant to this application? Just so that to add to the motion.
You could probably add it to the
Okay,
motion.
so then whatever the motion is, add that we allow staff to administratively review natural resources, exceptions, architectural, and lighting. No other questions?
Any other comments on that? I like it. Marion? Or excuse me, Luke?
Yep.
Wow.
1 second.
I just assumed.
You used to talk tonight.
This moment in the sun.
It is. Capitalize.
Sorry.
So anyway, while we're waiting, I do admire the Aldi here. So I got a question for you while Luke's getting ready. So let's say this moves along. When are you looking at opening the Aldi in Franklin?
Well, it's too early for us to commit to a date.
I won't.
Ultimate
Just
goal would be
roughly.
it would be to open in 2026, in the fall of 2026. That's our ultimate goal. The developer is here tonight, and I know he's ambitiously excited to move on and get going on working on the property itself and helping us get to our goal to turn over the site for us to start our stage of the project. But we've got a lot of things to get done prior to that.
Well, excellent, very excited, and I fully support the project. I've known the family that owns the property for many decades, and they're an outstanding family. They've given a lot to this community, and it's just ironic that as much as they've given now, something else is great coming from where they started.
I
I
appreciate
have a
it.
very important question, Mayor. Am I going to have to bring a quarter to get my shopping cart at this Aldi?
See,
It's kind of become a fad. I mean,
It
it's
is.
really, there's a culture behind it, exchange a quarter for the cart, get to know somebody. And it's unique. It works really well for us to manage the parking lot and it honestly, it's great. So yes, we will still continue the quarter for the cart for, I think, a very long period of time.
Noted, but now I won't have to drive to Greenfield to do it, and don't have to drive to New Berlin to go to Costco if this goes through. So I like it.
Yeah, and with our opening, sometimes we have little gifts and things like that, and they'll hand out.
from the center aisle,
Well,
or is that too big? That's too much.
well, yeah.
See,
Aldi
see him all
finds-
nervous in his seat, moving around. Well, I'm not going to commit to anything from the center
I
aisle.
was laughing because my wife just went last night and we came home with a lot of Halloween items I wasn't expecting.
Right, right.
It happens. So the Aldi Find section, it will be incorporated as well, just
Excellent.
like every other Aldi store. Yes.
Luke, you got the floor. Bring us home.
All right. A motion to approve a resolution approving a site plan for the development of a grocery store with general parking upon property located at 10001 West Church Street with the condition to allow staff to administratively review natural resources, architectural standards, and lighting standards.
So moved.
Second.
First and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
First, second by Mr. Leon. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. We are adjourned at 7:31 PM.
Thank you.
Marion, let me know when we're off.
Thank you.
Thank you.